Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect, Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join certified facilitator and coach Betsy McLaughlin as she delves into different areas of your life to get unstuck and create the life that is truly possible for you. Betsy has changed her life by utilizing the tools and techniques she is sharing with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Welcome, everyone, to Imperfect Brilliance with Betsy McLaughlin. You might be wondering, why does Betsy sound so different today? Well, I am not Betsy. My name is Cassy Summers, and I am a certified Access Consciousness Facilitator. I'm Betsy's guest today, and she is perfectly running a few minutes behind. So she's going to jump on here with us very soon. I'm super excited, and I offered just to launch off this conversation. So today we are talking about the gift of a shattered foundation. So have you, listener, ever had something occur in your life personally where it felt like your entire foundation had been shattered? You no longer had a predictable future or even a definable sense of who you were anymore. And if yes, has it been really uncomfortable or difficult, but maybe it seemed like everything was falling apart? But what if there's a gift in a foundation shattered? What if that's the greatest place to discover you? And what if there are tools to make it really, really easy and, dare I say, fun? And that's what Betsy and I are going to be talking about today. And I believe she's calling in right now, so she's going to be on in just moments. But I know personally for me, I have definitely had multiple times this lifetime, had those times where it felt like my entire foundation had been shattered. Everything was destabilized. It happened personally when I got divorced. It happened, even having a baby for the first time can really feel like your stability is shattered. Everything is changing. Oh, do I hear Betsy?
You do. Hello, darling.
Yay!
Thank you for starting the show for me.
My pleasure.
So catch me up.
Yeah, so I just kind of read the description that we had for the show, and I just started to share, where I've had moments in my life, and I'm sure you have too, where it was like my entire foundation had been shattered.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about, I think it came on right when you were saying you went through a divorce. So that's definitely a time when, the rug's pulled out from under you and you come emotional, shattered, and like your whole life is, what do I do now? So tell us a little bit, if you want to, dive into that. Love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks. Because we have these definitions, or at least I did, of what a good wife was, and a mother that was in a partnership, and all of these things. So when that changed, and when I became a single mom, I had no more definitions of myself. Mm-hmm. So that was like a big, who am I now? And so that foundation, and even the foundation of my predictable future, had been shattered because I had thought I was going to be, married to this man for the rest of my life. We were going to grow old together. We were going to be grandparents. And now not only was my current life shattered, but my future had been shattered.
Yes. And so when that happens, like you've got all these beautiful plans of what you think your life is going to be like. And then, it kind of come out of left field, like this big wrecking ball or, so many different things. And then what do you do when your whole life kind of falls apart?
Yeah, great question. So thank goodness I had the Access Consciousness tools. So I started, and although I was still very new to it, I started to use some of those tools. And some of those tools were, one was to ask questions like, who am I today? What grand and glorious adventures am I going to have? That was a great one. It was embedding adventure into my life, but also allowing me to be curious of what if every day could be different, then every day I get to create myself. It took me out of the mindset of this sense of being shattered, of being now a broken person or a broken heart or a broken home, and realized, oh, wait, okay, what's actually broken is all the stuff that wasn't working for me. And now I get to go, oh, okay, what would I like to create? What would work for me?
Wow. And, so you've got and then you have the whole emotional piece, right? Like, I also went through a divorce, and for me, at the time, I really didn't want it, and yet it's what happened, and it left me really emotionally devastated. And so what do you do, right? So you've got the emotional piece, and then, like in your case, you had children that you had to provide for besides yourself. Your whole world goes topsy-turvy. You have no idea what you're doing, the next 5 minutes, let alone 5 years from now. And from there, somehow, even for me, I started to find strength in myself that I had kind of forgotten I had. And I'm curious, did you have that as well?
Yes. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, I did. Even just independence, because I was always the kind of kid that had a sense of like, where I was going and a confidence about me. And throughout that 11-year relationship, I had lost a lot of that. And I started to believe that I needed him and that I wasn't capable and I wasn't, smart enough to do this on my own. And I didn't have the ability to do this on my own. So to be put into that position, I guess you could say, and then suddenly being like, oh, wow, I can actually. I do have this capacity. Oh, I am really good at this.
Wow. That's really, yeah. And I also had the same thing where I had lost so much of myself, and it wasn't anything that my husband was asking me to do. And somewhere I had bought into that I was supposed to do these certain things. And in buying that I was supposed to do these certain things, I was shutting down all these things about myself. And then in shutting them down, I was making myself more and more unhappy. And then looking to him and outside of myself for other people to make me happy, which wasn't making me happy, which was making me more miserable. And it was like, it was this cycle of stuff and I just lost myself more and more and more and more. And so then the same thing, like what you like, let's talk about shattering our foundation. And I'm thinking, gosh, I really did shatter so much. So I lost myself really, really, really dynamically. And, then there was a long journey back to finding myself and a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs and fobbles and successes and everything. And it took me quite a while to really get all of, like, I guess I would say get all of me back, where I'm like, okay, now I finally feel like me again. So did you kind of have some similar things with when your foundation shattered, or tell us a little bit about for you what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I find so interesting is we were saying shattering a foundation, but as we're building that foundation, both of us are talking about how we were being less and less of us, how we were, and it's, so you build this foundation that it doesn't even have you in it.
Right.
Less and less of you as you go along.
Right.
And then it shatters and you're like, oh my God, where am I? No, you weren't in the foundation. You didn't shatter because you didn't put yourself in it, which is probably why it didn't work. So to answer your question, one thing was my sexualness. A very jealous partner, so I had to like cut all that energy out of my body. I had to be like micromanage myself in any public situation, whether he was there or not. So regaining like all that energy of sexualness and sexual desire was so big for me. And also being willing to have, another thing that was really big for me that I gained with the shattering of this foundation was the sense that just because I'm different doesn't mean I'm not aware or that I don't know something, or that, so he had more education than I did. So even with the kids or with life or anything that I would try to give an awareness about, it was negated because I didn't have the things that he had. So I started to gain back some, I guess, confidence in my own knowing and confidence in me as even just a person functioning on the planet.
Wow. And so when you realized, let me start over. Rewind. When did you realize that you had kind of created these limitations in your life?
I think it was through my consciousness journey, really. I was just looking at me. I wasn't looking at him or even really looking at the relationship. I was like, oh, wow. So this is something about me I don't like, and I would like to change this. And as I looked at that, and I was really coming from the angle of how wrong I was. When I was looking at, this is something about me that is so wrong, and I need to change this, and I don't like it. And as I got more conscious to it, I started to discover that there was, within the wrongness of me, there was this strength. There was this capacity. And I was like, whoa, that's not what I expected. Okay. So then I would acknowledge that capacity, and the wrongness and the limitation would start to melt. And then I kept on and I kept on. And as I was uncovering this, other aspects of my life started to be uncovered just because of in relation to it. So I started to notice the limitations in the relationship, the limitations in my parenting, the limitations in all these places, because they're all based on the foundation of, I'm wrong, I don't know better, I can't do it, I don't have the capacities that other people do, and I'm just too weird and different.
Wow. And, I also, you said you were looking at yourself, and when I realized that I was looking outside of myself and looking at all the things that other people were not doing and all the things they were doing wrong, and I started turning that spotlight on myself, and be like, okay, this isn't working, and I can't change other people. So I really was willing to get vulnerable and put the light on things that I had decided were ugly and awful and terrible and, all the things. And actually, like, what can I change here? What could I do differently? Where am I, where am I saying that I'm unhappy, and what could I do differently? And that was for me starting to fundamentally change the way I was being and functioning in the world. Does that make sense?
Wow, yeah, that's beautiful. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like you kind of were doing some of the same things.
Yeah.
So I know we've got a couple minutes before the first break, would you share a couple of questions or tips if somebody else is kind of saying, yeah, maybe I have some of that going on, or I'd like to look at it and see if maybe there's some things I could make easier in my life? What are some of the questions that you could share with people?
Yeah, thanks for that. So I'd look at it kind of two different ways. One, your foundation might not be shattered. You might just have a foundation. And you might want to look at, okay, did I create this based on what's true for me and what's true about me? Or did I create this based on someone else's point of view? And then you can really start to uncover some of that stuff. And then if someone is experiencing, maybe they have had their foundation shattered. Breakups are great for that. Or someone you really love dies. There could be multiple things going on. So right. Then the question I would invite them to is to start to look at, so what's the beauty underneath all of this? What can I discover about me that I couldn't discover about me with this foundation in place? And what is possible to create now that maybe wasn't possible before?
I love that question. What is the beauty underneath all of this? And that's a great reminder for all of us, because we go to the negative or the ugly or what we have decided, and actually asking that question, what is beautiful about this that I maybe am not seeing, I'm not looking for, I'm not asking. And so as we go to break, I would love for people, look at even if there's one thing that they could look at. It could be a great situation too, right? It doesn't have to be something that's sad or awful. And what is the beauty underneath this? Thank you, Cassy, for that beautiful question. Stay tuned for some more tips and questions and conversation with Cassy Summers right after this.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organisation, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at OMTimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Are you looking to change anything in your life, to have an even greater appreciation of everything around you? Would you enjoy having a life of more joy and greater abundance, and explore what is possible for you? My name is Betsy McLaughlin, and I invite you to explore simple and pragmatic tools that I share on my radio show, Imperfect, Brilliance. I know firsthand that you can change anything. We explore tools and questions with amazing guests, offering all kinds of conversations on living your best life. I invite you to listen in Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern to Imperfect Brilliance. Consider a coaching call with me and let's explore what you would like your life to be like. Visit my website at www.creatingyumminess.com, and you're invited to call in to Imperfect Brilliance with your questions, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to connecting.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Imperfect Brilliance. I'm Betsy McLaughlin, your host for this hour, and we have with us today Cassy Summers, and she actually started the call for me today. I was in a training that was running a little bit behind, so thank you, Cassy, for starting us off, and I'm so glad I had the awareness that, you know what, she may run a few minutes late, so just in case I didn't want to freak you out and be like, where's Betsy? So, thank you for jumping in and starting the show for me. And just in case Cassy didn't tell you, because obviously I didn't hear the first couple of minutes, she is a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness, and I would love for you to tell people how they could find you if they would like to have some more conversations or find out what you're offering in the world.
Oh, thank you. So you can find me on most social media platforms, Cassy Summers. I'm on Instagram. I have a Facebook page, Cassy Summers CF, and also my website is a great place, so www.cassysummers.com.
Such an easy name, too. Summers, like the like, yes, winter.
Like you're summering, like I summer here.
Yeah. But with an S at the end, so Cassy is Cassy, and then Summers. And Cassy, I know a lot about your story, and of course there's a lot I don't know. And I know that you came from, your marriage was not so joyful, at least at the end, and you had a lot of realization. So, we're talking about, shattering your foundation today. And then where do you go when you pick up, when you've got pieces of, shards of glass everywhere, and you're, trying to gingerly step around them so that you don't step on them and end up having to go to the emergency room with you needing 25 stitches. And you're like, how do I navigate this new thing that is now my life? So right before the break, you shared with us one of your favorite questions to ask, which is, what is the beauty underneath us? So when you asked that question, when you were in that space of, oh my God, what am I going to do? Did you start getting some clarity on what the beauty was underneath that?
Yeah, and this might actually sound funny to say out loud, but I was the beauty underneath it.
Ooh.
I underneath this foundation of wrongness, this foundation of difficulty, this foundation of all of these things, the beauty underneath it was me, that I didn't have access to anymore because of that foundation.
Mm. Wow. Just let that sink in for a second, you guys.
Yeah.
Wow. So you started to see the beauty in you underneath all of that. What?
Yeah.
So as you started to see the beauty, what else did you do so that you made sure you didn't disappear again?
Oh, that is such a great question. Yeah, because we almost have a habit of it, right? Or we're trained to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, one thing actually is my kids are wonderful, and even at a very young age, they were very aware, and we had a really amazing open conversation. So anytime I started to kind of be someone else, they would ask me the question, who are you being right now, Mom?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, whoa, I'm doing that thing again where I flip out and then and just kind of let something else take over, some other idea, some concept, someone else's point of view. So that was one thing. I had people in my life, like my amazing young kids, that kind of had my back in that way. to call me out,
Well,
call me out.
I will say too, okay, I'm going to interrupt you for just a moment here.
Yeah.
Because you had amazing children that are like willing to say these things to you. And on top of that, you had to be willing to receive them, not go into denial or shutting them down, and actually be willing to hear what they're saying and go, you know what, you're right, and I'm going to choose something different. Because you could have very easily shut them down, gone back to what you were choosing before, but you had made that demand somewhere that no, you were changing it. And so in that, you were able to receive what they were saying and say, I'm not going to choose that, I'm choosing something different. So I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that, and for you, in case you haven't for yourself.
Oh, thank you. I actually never looked at that. That was never an option for me, and I think it was really, you said the word demand, because I had such a demand in my world that I'm not doing this anymore. I am not judging myself out of existence. I am not going back ever. And so it wasn't even an option in my world to negate their contribution to me being more of me. And thank you for acknowledging that, Betsy, because I didn't even look at that.
Wow. And, that's such a perfect example. We just don't, we're just like, I just want, and in taking the time to acknowledge all the things you've changed and what a contribution it has been for you, for your life, for countless others that you are in contact with every day, for your children, for your children's lives, for your children's teachers, like all of your children's friends. And I'm getting chills. And it ripples out in so many ways that we never even see, we don't even know, and yet it is such a contribution to so many people. So taking the time to acknowledge the gift that we are, and how much more can we, from that base of acknowledging the gift that we be, how much more can we actually create and be that and contribute, that if we didn't acknowledge it and we were quick to just be like, yeah, whatever, or never even acknowledge that, it just doesn't come to existence. So,
wow.
Woo, I didn't know we were going to go there.
I'm glad you did.
Wow. Woo-wee.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more, since we went to that, like shattering the foundation. So we're doing different things, and that includes acknowledging, and includes receiving things that maybe wouldn't be so comfortable. Like, how many people can receive when their children are pointing things out to them that we might know we're doing, but we don't want to hear it?
Yeah.
Children can be really great mirrors to the things we don't want to see and know. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness. All right. So with that, how does that help shatter your foundation?
Yeah, by receiving. Is that the question?
Yep. Or wherever else you want to go.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that, because I would say multiple times I've had my foundation shattered. And by talking about receiving, that is actually one of the most surprising ways that I've had my reality shattered, was by receiving kindness. Because my reality, especially based on this old foundation, based on, a lifetime of not having the nicest people in my life. I had this reality, this foundation that real kindness didn't really exist, that it is here in some way to either make you in debt to someone, or there's always something behind it, you know? And so the first time I actually truly received true and total kindness from a being, it shattered a foundational element I had, because that foundational element said, no, this isn't true. This doesn't exist. So when in the receiving and the acknowledgement of something, that shattered that piece that was saying, no, this doesn't exist, because I received it and I acknowledged it, so it did exist. But those two couldn't exist together. Does that make sense? So I couldn't have both worlds. I couldn't have a foundational world where true kindness doesn't exist, and at the same time receive and acknowledge true kindness. And I was so raw, and the sensation of being shattered after receiving it. And it was so beautiful. And so you wouldn't think those would go together. You wouldn't think like receiving kindness could shatter someone. I remember I was shaking and my body was doing so many things, and I was crying, but it was an unraveling, and it was a shattering of this foundation that was keeping me locked into something that just wasn't true.
I remember, thank you for that. I remember one of the first times I saw myself truly beginning to get what receiving actually was. And I did the same thing, Cassy, you know, and it was a gift that was so far out of that that this person would want to gift it to me. And it came in so unexpectedly, and when the person told me what they were doing, I literally broke down sobbing with just disbelief and awe and gratitude and receiving and the joy of it all. It was all mixed in there, and I looked, and I couldn't stop sobbing. I had to get up and go to the bathroom because it was in the middle of the class. I mean, it was so unexpected. And I was just like, oh my God. And I allowed my body to actually just receive and release whatever all that was. And I was like, wow, I really think I'm finally starting to get what this receiving thing is about. And it was such a beautiful experience. And then I was able to go and have a conversation with the person later. And even in thanking him for his kindness and for the gift, I was shaking. I was just like so grateful that the level of kindness that was given to me that I was actually able to receive. And I started looking at that and saying, goodness gracious, how many different places and walls have I had up that even if somebody was being kind to me, I couldn't see it because I couldn't receive it.
Yes. Yeah.
And it really started to change things for me, and it's so much easier for me to receive things than ever before. And I keep asking, like, how much more ease can I have with it? A dynamic example of me refusing things constantly was with my mother. Like, she would want to give me things, and I'd be like, no, like, just, And now I'm so much better about it. She actually wanted to gift me something, and my barriers were totally down. I was like, thank you, Mom. I would love to receive that. And I was like, whoa, listen to me. I actually said yes and was grateful. And I didn't fight her, and I didn't go to all the things. And I was like, yay, Betsy.
So can you, I'm actually just really curious, because we talk about, there's certain people that we, especially maybe it's from, childhood, past experiences or whatever, where we go, I don't want to receive from them. Yeah. So what was that like for you, Betsy? Like, what did you, I hope it's okay I'm asking a question, but
sure.
How did you get to a place? Yeah, how did you get to a place where you talk about lowering your barriers, but to be able to receive from her?
Well, especially with the things, we had a very interesting past, and, I had all these decisions that I had put in place about what it meant if I received from her. And I knew that there were, what do you call it? Strings. I knew there were strings attached, right? With a lot of things. I was very aware of that energetic. And if I said yes to this, then that meant I had to do all these things. And so I was always like in this computational world of knowing. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So then I just would automatically, the barriers go up, the walls go up, forget it. And so in that, I didn't ask any questions. I would just be like, nope, deflect. And so then looking at that for me is like, well, if I'm doing that with her, who else am I doing that with, including myself? And then it's like, okay, how's that working for you? And then you wonder why you don't feel closer to certain people. It's like, okay, so what could you change here? And it's like, what are you unwilling to receive? And if you were willing to receive it, what could change? And so for me now, like the example I just used with my mom, that I'm actually willing to receive something from her that if she had offered it even a couple of years ago, I'd been like, no. And now I'm like, yes, thank you. And I totally have gratitude, and I don't have the point of view that there's strings attached. So then it's like, okay, I wonder if that point of view was ever even really true, or did I just buy that somewhere and then I made it so true? And I think there was some, but not all the time, but I decided it was all the time, right? So because I decided it was all the time, I could never allow myself to receive from her. So then, like what did I set up and create for my relationship with her that contributed to the dynamics that we had? So when you look at it like that and you're like, okay, so, because it's easy to see what other people do, but it's way harder for me to like look at, okay, what did I do to create the things that are going on? And so then when I was looking at it going, okay, so if you have that point of view, you can change that point of view and then see what happens. And now, a couple of years later, and I can receive so much more from her. So I hope that answered your question. It was kind of a long-winded answer. Sorry about that.
Well, it's so beautiful, and it really shows like where that's how we create our foundation. So we've experienced strings attached, and then we go, it's always strings attached. It becomes our foundation, and that's our stability. So we always refer to the stability of that foundation, meaning that it's always strings attached. You can never see when it's not strings attached because it goes against your foundation.
Oops. Oh my God.
Oopsie. Yeah. Rather than, because what I sense is like with awareness, it's every time. Oh yeah.
I love it.
I hear the music.
All right. We'll be back for a little more in a couple of minutes. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I'm having the most delightful time with Cassy Summers, and I just totally blanked out on what I was going to say. That's hilarious. Okay. So you guys, to find me, I think I forgot to tell people about me, which I do a lot. Yeah. Is my website is creatingyumminess.com, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well as the Access Consciousness website for both Cassy and myself. And I know Cassy has a couple of different specialties and programs that she does, so be sure to check out her website if you're interested at all in any of the fun things she does. And one of the things that we both love to facilitate is the class is actually called The Foundation. So we've talked a lot today, just about like, what do you do when your life is, going along, and then you may have a huge shattering, you may have a little shattering, it may have it's great, and you'd have no shattering, but you would like more wherever you are. It doesn't have to be this big catastrophic thing, but if you are looking for greater in your life, no matter where you are right now, we have shared a couple of questions. I would love to have a couple more tidbits that you play with, Cassy, and things that you have used to have your life, where you've created your life far beyond what you probably thought it was going to be when you were first looking at being a divorced wife and single mom.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Becoming an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator, traveling around the globe, facilitating all kinds of classes, creating my own business, creating, like you had said, my own special topics, products. None of that was possible from that foundation that I was existing from. Mm-hmm. It was like, if I was lucky. Right. Well, if I was lucky, and this is me looking out in my predictable reality, I was going to be a good mom. If I was lucky, I was going to be a good mom. If I was lucky, this man was going to keep putting up with me. and if I was really lucky, I was going to have some kind of small, very manageable side business. That was kind of, that was what I believed was possible for me with this old foundation that I had built over my lifetime. Wow. So then to have that shattered, and to be where I am now. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love it, because what you kind of painted was a predictable future.
Yep.
Right, that's kind of what you thought you were going to have. And then you totally shattered that, and now you've got this whole thing, you're like, what do I do? And so, you've got this life that if somebody had told you when you were in your marriage that you would be facilitating and traveling and having way more confidence and all of the things that you talked about, rediscovering your sexualness and all of the things that you had started parceling off somewhere else, but not with you. And so now you've got you back and the potency of you and, all of the things that make up some of who you be. So now that you've got this, now it's like, okay, now what? And if somebody had told you that you would be where you are now when you were a married woman, and it's not being married or not married, but it's, being the married woman you were back then, however many years ago it was, what would you have said to the present you who came back to the past to tell you you'd be like this now?
I would have laughed. I would have laughed and been like, you got the wrong person. and I would have allowed it only in a dream state because I was always a dreamer.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved to write. I would write books and stories. I loved just those kinds of shows that whisk you away and you're completely absorbed in another world where possibility exists, because I didn't believe that in my world, possibility exists. So I would have allowed that in a dream-like space, but no way would that ever have been a reality for me. I would never have let it come into existence because it couldn't with my foundation in place.
Wow. Okay, right. So it's if somebody told you, okay, this is going to be your life, you'd look at them going, okay, you have like 12 heads right now, and there's no way that can be my reality, and you need to go to the loony bin because that is never going to be my life. Right, and then it turns out into your life, and you're like, I'm just scratching the surface of what I know is possible. So to get there from that place to where you are now, and where you know that you can barely even get a taste of where you are going, what did you put into place to start actualizing that and creating that for you?
Oh, thank you.
Where are these questions coming from? Wow.
They're amazing. Well, something we talk about in Access Consciousness is actually, rather than having a foundation, is you have a platform. And what we know about a platform is you don't dig into the ground. Like, so if you're building a foundation for a home, especially where I live in Canada, I know different areas and cultures are a little bit different depending on the ground there. But we dig deep. Sometimes we dig like 6 feet deep, even deeper. We have basements. Okay, so you dig deep into the earth. You lay concrete and wood, and you have a solid foundation. You want to have the most solid foundation to support your house. Okay, and that's really what I did. And the concrete was made up of everyone's point of view about me, about all the impossibilities I saw in the world. So now your question, I don't have this foundation anymore. I started to build something called a platform where it's movable. It can be on pegs. It can grow. It can get bigger. It can change. It can alter. It's so malleable. And how I created that platform was really through getting present with who I am, and we talked about acknowledging like that, the beauty of who we are, and reclaiming those aspects of me that I had lost and I had shoved out of the foundation. So as I recalled that and reclaimed it, and then acknowledged, oh wow, this is really wonderful, and then I started to go to the question, so what can I create? So if I didn't have a foundation, then I would have no reference point. So my old foundation said I can only create XYZ because of XYZ. I can only create this because of I'm not very talented, because I'm not very smart, because of all these things, right? So with all of that out of the way, I didn't have a ceiling anymore. I didn't have anything telling me what I couldn't do. Well, I didn't have as many things telling me what I couldn't do. So then I had to ask myself, as if it was brand new, as if I was just a brand new person on this planet, okay, so what can I do? What would I like to do? And what is possible that maybe I knew was possible, but I shoved out of my world because of this foundation? So I created this platform, and this platform for living, this platform for my business, this platform for my parenting, and continuously launch off of that.
You just like, that was such a beautifully succinct description of something that can be a little bit difficult to kind of put into words. And so with the platform that is a movable, malleable thing in your life, what do you add to that platform to make your life greater?
Oh, I'm laughing at that question too. Yeah. So it like even just recently, for a great example is I noticed my business having some difficulty in growth and some difficulty in workload and all this stuff. So I asked, so I just really asked that question that you just asked. So what do I need to add here? And it almost as though I could sense the platform having, imagine like a whole bunch of holes in it. Mm-hmm. So all these possibilities, I'd be aware of them. I'm like, okay, let's launch up the platform. And then they'd fall through the hole. And I was like, oh, dang it. What's going on here? And so I actually added someone to my business recently, and she's amazing. She's such a huge gift. And she came in with this capacity to actually fill in all those holes. So then now when I go to take a possibility and you want to launch it off, they're not falling through the cracks anymore. Mm. But it's still not solid. It's still in motion. So something that's solid can't move anymore. So what I noticed the difference between when I had a foundation, so say you have a foundation for your business, you might have, this is our mission statement, and this is how we do things, and these are our policies, and these are our forms, these are our structures, so it's very solid. Right. So for my platform, I actually have a vision, and vision can change, right? I have a vision for what I would like to create in the world, and some of the how I like to create it. I have an awareness of some possibilities, and I'm always asking questions, so that platform is literally changing every single day when I talk to my business. And that goes for my life, and that goes for my parenting and relationships and my body as well.
Wow. So if you wouldn't mind sharing maybe a couple of the questions that you ask every day.
Oh, yeah, I love that. So one is I usually I try to plan, and I just started to do this maybe 6 months ago, is, you set your alarm to wake up in the morning. I set mine 10 or 15 minutes before I have to get up. And I'm not allowed to get out of bed for those 10, 15 minutes. So I had to, that was part of my platform for living, was that I had to institute, that was something I added. I added some space for me to ask questions in the morning. So I spend those 10 to 15 minutes in bed. And I usually kind of I start with my body, and then I talk to the earth, and then I talk to my business, and I talk to consciousness and all kinds of things. But one first question is just hi. It's not even a question, it's an acknowledgement. It's hi business. Like as if it was brand new, like when you wake up, and people listening, you might have to go back in time a little bit and remember the first time you ever slip over with a lover. And when you woke up, it was like, hi. Hello. Wow, something occurred last night and I'm kind of discovering you, and you're kind of you don't really know, how are they going to be? What's going on in their world? What's going on in your world? So you're in this huge wonder, right? Right. So it's hi. So I go to my business every morning as though it was my lover for the first time last night. And I'm like, hi. And then I'm wondering. I'm just wondering about it for a minute as I acknowledge its existence. Hi. And then I will ask, and then another question I ask is there anything that you're asking for me to be or choose today? And then I'll let that kind of come to me. So sometimes it's just being an energy, or I need to be more of me, or I need to acknowledge the greatness of me, or acknowledge the greatness of the business or something. And then sometimes there's a choice involved. So I'm always looking at what can I choose today? So I'll ask that question, and then I'll ask, is there anything that you'd like me to receive from you today?
Wow.
And then my last question is...
question. Yes. Okay, one more. We get one more tidbit.
One more. So my last question is, and what requires my attention today?
Yes, I love that question.
Yeah.
And especially when you have, thousands of balls in the air. And, you ask what requires your attention, and it will start yelling at you.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing all of these things and just the joy that you be. And you guys, it's never too late. It's just one of the things I want to tell you. And we're already at the end of the time. I didn't even get to say everything I wanted to say.
Oh, no.
Cassy, thank you for being with us. I hope you'll come back and play.
Yeah. Thank you, Betsy.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
Bye.